Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whatever place it is you're tuned to the Life Signatures Radio, the Swahilis normally say hayawi hayawi hua. That means that eventually the end comes, and today is that particular day where we bring to a close a very long series we've been doing in this show. We've been talking about personal blockades that comes to a close in the episode today. So if you're tuning in for the very first time, this is the Life Signatures Podcast. It's a daily show that is focused on the subjects of purpose, productivity, and resilience. It's teaching, it's inspiration, it's motivating, it's instruction that is way above what you would expect on a normal day, and it's just focusing on those three particular areas. So if this makes sense to you, by the way, switch it on. Share it with as many people as you can, and if you want to give back, there is a link for you to do that, just particularly that. But today, let us focus on bringing this long series we started in episode number 1912. We're now on episode number 1967. It's a lot of episodes that have discussed the particular topic of personal blockades. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures Podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures Podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
So, we've been talking about personal blockades, and what is a blockade is just something that we believe. When I say it's just something, it looks like it's something small. It is not. The most sinister thing about a blockade is that you might not know it is stopping you. I might not know that it is stopping me from succeeding. When I talk about succeeding, I'm not just talking about arriving, where I buy a car, I buy a house, I get a family. Once in a while we go to KFC to eat, and we have a vacation, I have a steady job, I have a steady income, and it's just about me and my family. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about looking at my life from the angle of my best possible outcome. What is my potential? What can I achieve? Normally, I've quoted this man called Les Brown, who says that the human being, as a species, we are the ones with the most dubious reputation of not fulfilling our potential. And he says that if you put a eucalyptus tree in the most conducive environment, it grows to the highest it can. It doesn't leave an inch out. It goes to the highest it can. But let me just end the quote. Let me say this. If you put the human being in the most conducive environment, sometimes we think our conducive environment is what? It's comfort, where everything is provided for us. We don't grow, by the way. Did you realize that? It is when we are coming up against stuff, limitations, opposition. It's when we realize something that really matters to us that we push our limits. When we are really pushing what is against us, that's when we get to the highest we can be able to get. But in between, there are these things that are called blockades. These things that we've allowed, we've believed for them to be facts, and yet they are not, that are keeping us from attaining that highest glory of the human as an individual. And these things are operating in different spheres. There is blockades we talked about in the mental sphere. We spent quite a bit of time talking about that. There are blockades that are operating in the cultural sphere. We spent quite a bit of time talking about that. And then there are blockades that are operating in the spiritual arena. Then we talked about the self-concept blockade, how we estimate ourselves or how we do not estimate ourselves well. And then we ended by talking about the experiences blockade. This is feedback we get when we try to do out something. We go out there and we try to do something, and guess what? We get smacked in the face, like Mike Tyson said, everyone always has a plan until they get punched in the face. That is where we get feedback from experiences, and they create a blockade. And we might not know that the blockade is there, but it is in operation. And that's why I have, over the past several episodes, been talking about how to identify what are the signs that can tell you that you are operating under a blockade. And right about now, I just want to give you a review of those signs, and then we will go to the last one and call it a day. Number one, you're a stickler for culture. Culture is a good thing. It could also be a bad thing, because culture sometimes can stifle you from growing. This is the way we've always done things. Ask Nokia. It was a cultural blockade. We are connecting people by using these mobile phones, and people have got to punch on those phones, those keys. Nobody wants a screen or a big screen on their phone. People want to punch the keys. And therefore Nokia stuck to the culture. They stuck to the culture. They were stickler for their culture. And the bandwagon left them. By the time they woke up and trying to catch up, Samsung and Apple had gone. We had these iOS phones, Google iOS phones that used to have batteries that would last for 1 hour. But we've suffered. But you get the point that I'm trying to raise. If you're a stickler for culture, you might be putting up a blockade unbeknownst to you. I'm not saying that everyone who is a stickler for culture is limited with a blockade. No, I'm just saying there could be a possibility in there that your sticking to the culture could be a position where you're limited. Number two, we talked about you having no goals, no vision, no mission, no direction of life. You wake up in the morning, there is no personal definite goal. If I find myself that the goal that I am fulfilling today is someone else's goal, someone else's mandate, someone else's desire, someone else's passion, there could be a blockade that I'm operating under. Because goals give us direction, goals constrict us to get to the ultimate best of our potential and fulfill it. Especially if these goals are our own goals. So if I don't have goals, chances are that I could be operating under a blockade. Number 4. When I have absolutely no purpose. Number 3. When I have no purpose in my life. Okay, it's just that I don't have purpose. It is that I have not discovered what it is. If I have not discovered what my purpose is, I am like a ship on the sea that doesn't have a coxswain and doesn't have direction, and it's not docked. It is being tossed about by the waves, and it will end up just about anywhere. Now that is a blockade, some sort of blockade. It is speaking to directionlessness. Okay? And then number 4, we talked about no accountability. I cannot account for my time, my treasure, my talent today, or tomorrow, or yesterday, or this month, or this quarter, or this year, or the past 10 years, or the next whatever years. I don't have an accountability system that can tell me you've lived X number of hours this year, and this is what you have accounted for in terms of your time, in terms of your resources, in terms of your talent, your gifts, and your abilities, and even your treasure. This is the accountability. If I don't have that accountability, then I could be under a blockade. Number 5, there is this idea of chronic complaining. I have come to realize that chronic complainers are people who are not acting. They're people who are not doing. Seldom will you find someone who is involved in making problems go, bringing solutions to the table. Seldom will you find that person engaged in chronic complaining that wears people down, finding faults and judging people at all turns. If you are a person who finds yourself that way, I found myself, by the way, in that particular position. That's why I'm speaking passionately about it. It took someone else to tell me. Long time ago, maybe 2 decades back, it took someone to tell me. That's when I realized, wait a minute, yeah, it is true. I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at that pattern. I'm always complaining. I'm always looking at things from a complaining perspective. I'm always looking at people and bringing them down. See, that kind of thinking can spell a blockade that is already existing. I'm a person who is folding my hands, and all the best I can do is become a critic. No statue was ever built for a critic. Number 6, we talked about apathy. This is one of the biggest, because apathy is the maturity of procrastination. That's my personal quote. In other words, you're disinterested, you have no emotion, you have no attachment, you have no commitment, you're not engaged. You're just apathetic. In fact, by the way, sometimes you could be apathetic on the things that matter to you. For one reason or another. That apathy makes you to not do anything. And that apathy could be a source of a blockade. Then number 7, we talked about you loving your comfort. Sorry, not even loving your comfort. You being risk averse. Not wanting to go out and, puncture the bubble that you've been living in. The last time you and I took a risk to do anything we can't remember. If that is the case, and I'm not talking about personalities here, because we have different personalities. There are people whose personality is just, is like an Elon Musk. I have a high propensity for allowing failure, high latitude for allowing failure. But some of us, we do not want failure, and therefore we do not risk. That could be a source of a blockade in your life or in my life. Then number 8, lastly, let's talk about this as we close. One other sign that I am under a blockade is when I love my comfort. All these things tie down to this thing. I love comfort more than I love action. I have found out in life that the best things will come to those people who try, and trying is in the area of discomfort. Trying is in the area of reaching out and going farther than just the normal. And if I am a guy who is always doing that, guess what? I'm a guy who loves my comfort. Guess what? It could mean that there is a blockade that I'm operating under. It is in session. Maybe I do not know. But the love for comfort, you see, comfort is not a bad thing, but comfort should not be the goal. It should be the byproduct. My goal for existence should not be to be comfortable. My goal for existence should be to be actionable, and therefore from that particular action I create an environment, I create a room where there could be comfort. Of course, we all do love a comfortable life. However, if our love for comfort exists, the need for reaching out and growing, we might be operating under some sort of big blockade. Signs of an exceeding love for comfort, like laziness and procrastination, they indicate that there could be something that is limiting me. It also includes paralysis analysis, where I do not want to act. I want to make sure that I have done market research. Market research is spot on. Let me tell you this. I don't think Facebook ever did market research. I don't think Apple ever did market research. Neither did Microsoft do any market research. Probably in the initial times, or maybe later on, Amazon might have done market research. But these guys, some of these people started things that did not even have a market to begin with. There was no market for smartphones to begin with. Who did market research? Steve Jobs just said people do not know what they need until you show them. And they went out there and they created products. Sometimes we have analysis. We paralyze ourselves with analysis before we can launch. Let me tell you this. I know it's weird, but one of the best market research you can be able to do is through live testing. What does that mean? You write you don't wait for people to love a book or love a particular concept or love a particular topic and then you write about it. You write about it and then you send to someone. And they read and they're like, wow. Okay, and then they share with someone else and share with someone. That's live testing. If they don't say wow, then you just know. But you cannot limit yourself with paralysis analysis before you. This is just a sign that you love comfort. It's just a sign that I love comfort. And in my love for comfort, I am propping up a blockade. And that blockade is hindering me from becoming the best possible version of myself. We are afraid that our comfort will be interfered with when we take action. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at your life right now. Examine yourself. Find out what could be hindering you from succeeding. It could be a blockade that has been in operation that you might not have known, but you need to get rid of it. How do you know? Look at your culture, your love for culture, number 1. Look at if you don't have goals, number 2. Look at if you've not discovered your purpose, number 3. Look at if you are not accountable for your time, your treasure, and your talent, number 4. Look at if you have a chronic complaining spirit, number 5. Look at if you have apathy, number 6. And look at if you are risk averse, number 7. Then look at if you love comfort, number 8. It brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to the close of the whole shebang, the whole series. And guess what? That tells us that starting tomorrow, we have this awesome privilege, this awesome opportunity to once again begin another series. You want to know what that series is going to be about? It's going to be about strategic living. It's going to be interesting. Stay tuned.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.